Hi, God bless you. I'd like to give you an update on community and structure. First, I want to thank all of you who have written into us about community. It was very helpful to get your information. And your input showed us that there's a lot of variety in your situations. There's a lot of different needs and different preferences, and you have differences in how you're meeting those needs, which is pretty inspiring to see, actually. One thing that your writing us showed us that there's actually a lot of fellowship happening around the world. There's people getting together, and it's very, very inspiring. And I love it when you write into GNB about what's happening, because then we can kind of partake of it too. We hear your stories, we see your photos and all the rest, which is really great. Some things that we saw from reading what you wrote us were that there are some cities that have regular fellowships. They do it quite often, and they have retreats for members. They get their new converts together. They just do things together, and there's a fair bit of fellowship. The other cities have activities for kids and teens that have been organized as a result of the local need and according to the time and the finances that those locally can put together and pull off. So those are also happening around the world. Some areas have organized larger, like countrywide fellowships and retreats as well. So that happens fairly regularly around the world, and it's, again, pretty inspiring. So in reading your things, it seems to me that a lot of you have plenty of fellowship. Many of you said that. On the other hand, there's others of you who feel that that area in your life is lacking, that you don't have fellowship. You're not in a situation where people are putting on those kind of events, or you live far away and there's not people around you to do it. Now, Maria and I have written about the importance of community and of spiritual fellowship. And we want to let you know and want to repeat it that we're 100% behind it. It's very, very important for Christians to get together. It's very important for family members to be together, to sort of just unite in spirit and have the Lord's Spirit move in a body like that. It's just very special, and you can't always just get that on your own. Having times of prayer and the Word, hearing from the Lord together, singing song together, all just very, very important. Scripture says to not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. It says how good and how pleasant it is for the brethren to dwell together. So the Bible talks about it. You and I both know that it's a blessing when it happens, and we're very behind it. And as you know, we're not just behind it, we're putting money behind it, because we've sponsored the Community Building Grant Fund, which has been quite successful. It's pretty inspiring. We got some stats that in the last year and a half, there's been about 50 events that have happened because of the Community Grant Fund. And those events involved like about 3,200 members in 20 different countries. So that's a pretty big amount of people. That's kind of almost the population of the family. Of course, we realize that they haven't happened everywhere, but that's a lot of fellowship that's been going on. And again, we're really happy to see that. Now, there's some challenges when we think about spiritual fellowship and kind of these kind of gatherings. And some of those challenges are that some people really, really want fellowship. They want a lot of it. Some people don't want it, and they're not so happy with it. They feel that it's not a need for them. There's also many people who are quite selective about who they'll fellowship and who they want to fellowship. And if they're going to get together, they want it to be the kind of people that they want to be together with. And that's understandable, but that's a challenge if there's not those people around you. Several people have commented that they're hesitant to lead or to organize any kind of spiritual fellowship time or worship together, because they don't want people to look at them that like they think they're the leader and people are supposed to obey them. That they don't want to do that. We heard a testimony of an area that put on a several-day countrywide fellowship. And that kind of problem existed. The people putting it on, they didn't want other people thinking that they were trying to be the big leaders or anything like that. So they had a good solution. They got in touch with everybody and they said, we want to do it, let's vote. Let's vote on everything. Let's vote on where it should be. Let's vote on when it should be. Let's vote on like what's the food and all of these sort of things and what will be the schedule and what kind of classes. And everybody got involved and they voted on it. And it went off really well. And a lot of people specifically commented to us that they were so happy that there wasn't somebody there trying to be the leader, that they all got to participate. So, yeah, so that problem about the leader thing can be overcome if somebody's willing to put the time in, and all of you who are attending will put the time and effort in and pray and, work together to make it happen. But it is really important to fellowship. It's really important that it does happen, no matter what it takes. And I would say even if, in some situations, somebody has to step out and say, well, let's do it and I'll organize it. And even some people might think, well, they're trying to be the big leader. Well, don't try to be the big leader, but do try to get it organized because people do really need the fellowship and they benefit from it. Another point about a challenge really with this kind of thing with spiritual fellowship and things along these lines is that there's geographical problems. In other words, some cities have a lot of TFI members and it's easy for them to get together. And others just are basically on their own. They're off in some country or city or something where there's hardly anybody or nobody around. And that's a challenge. What do you do in those kind of situations? Not everyone is in a position to have fellowship and community with other members. And maybe you don't live around other members. Or perhaps even if you do, your job or your family situation doesn't allow you that much flexibility. So there's not really a lot of time to meet up with others. And these are challenges. Some of these challenges, especially if you're in a situation where there are others around you, these are challenges that it's probably worth it to try to overcome them at least sometime so that you can get together once in a while because, again, there's importance to it. Okay, now for a number of you who are in that situation where there's not a lot of people around you, or even if you live in a city where there's people but you want more fellowship than you're getting, a lot of you have written and told us about how you fellowship together online. You're finding that you can actually unite with people, have that spiritual connect, have the friendship, the talk time, the prayer, the word time. All of these things can happen if you're together. I mean, even if you're not together, if you do it online. Some examples are that some folks have had fellowship and prayer with members on Skype, and that's worked. They've got 2 or 3 or 4 members. Somebody wrote about having devotions with their virtual home. There are 6 or 7 people who meet regularly online. They get on, they Skype in together. They have devotions a couple times a week. They sing songs, have communion, things like that. And you can actually do that. And you're not there physically, but you're there sort of physically, electronically, and you're seeing each other, and there's that fellowship and there's that interaction. And it's just about, if you can't be together, it's pretty darn close to being it's almost the same as being together physically. There's also like Facebook groups that are dedicated to spiritual fellowship. And there's several of those around, ranging from like 20 people to up to 500 or 600 people. So people, get on, they share what's going on in their lives, they share their stories, things like that. Very, very good way to do it as well. So several of you have said that online fellowship really is working for you. And that's a blessing. Others of you really want the physical fellowship, and that works for you when it can happen, and it's a blessing. And we could have more physical fellowship for sure if we were, if we all lived in one city and we were like the TFI megachurch. We could have, Marie and I could move there and we could have weekly sermons and everybody could come and we could have kids groups and we could do all of these things. But the fact of the matter is we're 4,000 people living in 80 different countries. And in some cases, you might be able to get together quite often and have like a church and do that. And there would be not only would there be nothing wrong with it, it would be a good thing. Get together, work together, fellowship together. But many of us wouldn't be able to be in that situation because we live off in places where there's very few people. So really you kind of have to find what works for you. And most of all, fellowship you're going to have to start to create it, whether it's online for you or you're hooking up with somebody else's sort of situation online, or if it's a physical fellowship in your city. It takes initiative. It takes initiative on your part to either join or to invite others, or to go to physical fellowships, or to create them by having them at your house or at a park or something near you. Yeah, somebody has to actually do it, and if you really need it, you should try to do it, because you can actually make it happen. Now, when it comes to physical fellowships, there are some options. You can find fellowship with other TFI members in your area if there are some. If there aren't any, you can sort of build one through your witness to others, through inviting them, people you're witnessing to invite them over for some reading and spiritual fellowship, or talking about the Lord. Or if you've led a few people to the Lord, well, start having a weekly get together, meet in a cafe, or have them come over for dinner and read the Word together, maybe teach them a song or two, or just listen to some songs and talk about the Lord and pray together, or have prayer for each other. And that's the beginning of a fellowship. That's a beginning of a church. And you can do that, just you. You don't need a lot of people. You don't need super inspirationalists. You don't need anything but God, His Spirit, and His Word. Just have them come over and read a couple chapters of the Bible together and talk about them. Pray together. Ask them, do they need help? Do they need prayer for anything? Are they having troubles in their lives? Because you're having troubles in your lives and you need prayer for this. Ask them then if they do. And just create the fellowship. Another option is, if you can't do that, and there's nobody around you, well, look for a Spirit-filled church. Go to church on Sundays with them, or meet during the week with them, and have that kind of spiritual fellowship with other like-minded Christians as well. Find a church that suits you. Different churches are different. Some are kind of straight-laced, some are quite open, some are kind of for younger people, some seem to be older, some sing new songs, some sing old songs. There's all kinds of them, and they're sweet Christians that go to them, and they love Jesus just like you do. They're part of the body of Christ just like you are. And there's no shame or anything negative whatsoever to doing that. So if you're in a situation and you want some fellowship and you need it physically and you can't get it online, then go to church. Find the right people. Or find Christians who are unchurched, invite them over to your house and make your own church, okay? Now, fellowship is needed. This is what we saw from reading from you. Well, we knew fellowship was needed, but we realized that so many people want their fellowship in so many different ways. And we feel that you need it and you should try to work at it, okay? Try to get that fellowship. I've given you some ideas that other people have given us, and pray about it and ask the Lord how to do it, okay? Now, another point is there's a bit of a differentiation between friendship and spiritual fellowship. You can get together with family members and that's friendship time. You have a beer, you go someplace, you watch a movie, you play soccer, and all that's really good, and it's actually important. It's nice to have friends that you can kind of let your hair down with and talk with, etc. But also spiritual fellowship, a time to actually know that you're coming together and you're going to pray together, or you're going to be accountable to each other for your spiritual walk, or those kind of things. That's all also really important. Now, the two, the friendship and the spiritual fellowship, can be blended together. It does work. But often when you get into sort of the friendship side, it's a little hard to switch gears over to the spiritual fellowship side. So you're going to have to kind of think that through and, decide some way to make that happen. Otherwise, you have a few beers, you have a little talk, pretty soon the night's over and you're gone, and you didn't really have prayer or the spiritual side together. So please try to work that in. They're both important. Now, some folks find that when they want to have like a friendship, like a bigger gathering, but they also want to have spiritual fellowship, that they don't know quite how to do that, because they're not always sure where everybody's at who comes to their barbecue. That they don't know if some of the people are members, or they don't know if people, even if they are, if they want to pray together or what. And it's kind of uncomfortable, and so usually what happens, it's just the friendship side. But this one SGA said that what she found worked is to tell people, okay, hey, look, lunch starts at 1:00. That's when the personal, individual friends and things like the friendship time starts. But at 12:00, we have prayer and communion. So, you know, people who aren't really interested in coming for the prayer and communion, they just come at 1 o'clock. And the people who want the other come early. And I thought that was a pretty good solution to that. And it kind of supplies everybody's needs. Those who want the one and also the needs of those who don't want the spiritual fellowship. So that works pretty good. Okay, so fellowship is important. Community is important. Please work on it, okay? Please try. Okay, now I'd like to talk for just a minute on structure. As you know, we don't have structure like at the moment. To have it, there's certain things or certain practical points that are important to consider as we think about this and as we decide about what we're going to do about structure in the future. When I'm talking about structure, I'm talking about like organizational structure for both supplying leadership and supplying, like facilitators or whatever for community. But some of these practical points, and again, we've gotten this from many of the things that you've written, is that we're unsure exactly what people would like to have when it comes to, quote, leadership or facilitators or things like that. There's not a consensus. You know, some people really want it. They want people to sort of help them to get things going and this, that, and the other. And other people are just like, whoa, you know, we've had that for a long time. We really are happy being able to make, you know, to do it how we feel and to work together with our friends and just do it without anybody coming in and telling us or prodding us or anything like that. So we're not exactly sure what people really want. We do know that people don't want other people telling them what to do. And we kind of don't want that either. And that wouldn't be our thinking for leadership, but that could happen. And so we're a little cautious on that side too. Besides, you know, people not necessarily wanting somebody, the question is, well, who would do the job? Who would be the community builders, or who would be in this, you know, leadership or in these structure positions? Who would do it? And we're not so sure now who would do it or who would be the best to do those kind of things. And then even if we knew some people or thought of some people, would they be willing to do it? Because I'm not so sure people are just, you know, raring to jump in and say, okay, I'll try to like lead the way, or I'll try to facilitate for you, or I'll take my time and stuff to try to please you. And because, you know, they might not be able to please you, and then it's difficult, and people are kind of bugged or upset at them and those kind of things. Like this whole thing is kind of a little touchy these days. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've noticed it. And then if you find them, you know, do they want to do the job, and would they be willing to do it? And you know, even if we said, okay, look, let's just vote. You can nominate some people. We'll vote for those people. Let's do a vote. Well, how do you know that person would even be willing? And even if they were willing, and even if we could vote, there's the problem of we just don't really have a lot of finances right now. And having people in all the cities or all the countries, those things take people's time, and they need to be compensated for it because they're taking time probably away from their work or from the other things that they would be doing. And we just honestly, right at this point, don't have that kind of money to set this kind of structure up. So a number of you have written and said that you would really like both structure and community provided for you. You know, sort of, here it is. The you know, TFI sort of supplies these things because that you want that because, you know, when it exists, it does things for you. But and we've just come to the conclusion after prayer and really seeking the Lord about it, that it's really not the time to institute a leadership facilitation structure or to set up some sort of like fellowship building structure from the international level. It's just not the time. The Lord was pretty specific about it, and he said, no, now is not the time. Now, in saying now is not the time doesn't mean never is going to be the time. It's just right now, it's not the time. And these things that I've talked about, the different possibilities, the different ways that people want different things, they look at it differently. You know, somebody really wants fellowship, somebody really doesn't. Somebody really wants like leadership and things like that. Other people really, really don't. So there's not a consensus. And, you know, if we try to institute that, some people are happy, some people are unhappy. Some people are really happy, some people are really unhappy. So we have to wait for the Lord's time. And when he tells us now is not the time, honestly, we believe him. Now, again, that doesn't mean that there'll never be structure, that there'll never be of any kind, that there'll never be fellowships or things that are sort of helped from the international level, but it's just not now. You know, in the present, it's this way, but the present isn't permanent. So we will look at things again in the future, but right now we're kind of in this transitional phase. So we need to keep going through this, but in the meantime, you can fellowship with people. You should fellowship with people, okay? Try your best. Get in touch. Pick up the phone. Talk to each other. Get online if you're kind of lonely and you need other family members to talk with and fellowship with. Put some effort into it. Take some initiative. And I know the Lord will supply your needs because he's promised to. Okay? God bless you.